everybody, it's Dave with No Chaser, and today is Valentine's Day, and I kind of have a Valentine's Day shirt. Coincidence? Yes. I'm going to be talking about loneliness, so coincidence? No, actually. I thought about loneliness as a topic of someone early in recovery because, and I'm not talking about romantic loneliness, even though it's Valentine's Day. I'm not talking about like that sense of like wanting to be with somebody in a romantic relationship or anything like that. I mean, just a feeling of loneliness that sometimes comes on in early recovery because well, why does it come on? And I think one of the main reasons is that because when you are in addiction, when you've been drinking and hiding in secrecy, using it's a life of isolation. It's a life of secrecy as well too. It's a life of just so much time spent by yourself, so much time spent just cutting people out, like cutting people out because you basically have to, because you can't live publicly the way that you want to live with using and drinking. And so when you stuff all that stuff down, and then you become sober, not only do all these emotions come up, but you find this sense of wanting, of yearning to be with people in a connection. You don't want to be in that lonely life anymore because the lonely life was bearable when you were drinking and using. I mean, at a certain point, it wasn't bearable. That's why you stopped, drinking and using. But like to be in that isolated state and not even be under the haze of chemical, drunkenness or highness is just unbearable. And so much stuff has been repressed too because you've like most likely I know I've shut off so many meaningful relationships in my life because you can't have meaningful relationships when you're drinking and using because if you have them, the meaningful relationship, the person in it will want you to stop doing that and you don't want to stop doing that. And so it just, I know so many times I felt this yearning. And this is why I think people fall into traps of codependency. This is why I think people fall into traps of, even like sex addiction or, it might not even just be like sex addiction. I think honestly, sometimes people maybe like to think of it that way. They like to just not feel as vulnerable as the idea of just like, maybe I just want sex and that dopamine hit, but maybe it's something deeper. Honestly, they just want to feel a connection with somebody. They just want to feel affection. They just want to feel loved. I know I truly felt that before, and it's hard to decipher what's real and what's not at times because that yearning is so strong. And by the way, it's also a natural yearning. For once in your life, you're not yearning for like a buzz. You're not yearning for a high or a drunk or anything like that. You're yearning for a person. And to not have that, I mean, this is one of those things in recovery where some people split off in different paths because, it's such an advantage to be a sociable person. It's such an advantage to be a person that's surrounded by supportive people, to be surrounded by people that aren't using or drinking or anything like that. And so if you don't have that, you have to make it on your own. And that's really difficult. Especially it's difficult because if you're getting sober at the age of 40, like what? You have to make new friends or you have to like start, like seeing other people and be exposing yourself when you're 40, especially if you're trying to raise kids, especially if like you're drinking or using ended to the demise of a relationship. So you have to deal with all that and then work on top of it. It's just like, how do you make friends? And so it just can be so crushing to feel and sit in that loneliness. And I think sometimes people, I make these videos a lot just because I used to think it was weird that somebody would just they put on a YouTube video, maybe not even really be watching it, but you just hear a voice talking. You hear somebody talking in the background and it'd be comfortable. Like I know a lot of people will just watch podcasts on on their phone, just or in the TV in the background, just to have people talking. And that may seem kind of sad, but no, it's a sense of like people being around you because I mean, not to get on this whole soapbox, but like with technology that was supposed to bring us together, it's an increasingly lonelier world. And so, that feeling of being alone in a room full of people is just like magnified by 100. And especially if you've been living a life that has been so isolated and crushing in that sense of addiction and alcoholism, now you're craving it. And you could fall for predatory people. You could fall for like just your own self. You could become predatory. You could fall into that bad maladaptive behavior of trying to use people for your own self gratification. But sometimes it's not that malicious. It's just wanting to connect with people. So it's like, how do you do that? How do you like naturally come about and just be like, how do you be basically a 35-year-old dude and be like, hey, do you want to be my friend? I through these videos and stuff, I genuinely, I tell people like, if you get my email and shoot me like an email or something, set up a Zoom or anything like that. I'd love to chat. Like, I'd love to connect with people on this stuff, especially to share like this type of stuff in recovery, because it's stuff that's been kept secret for so long. I cannot tell you the good and cathartic feeling it is to share with people, like the stupid stuff you've done, the embarrassing, even the shameful stuff, and to have someone be like, yeah, I've done that too. I mean, I think that's why meetings, whether it's AA or Dharma or Smart or support groups or NAMI or any of those things, they're so important, just for the fact that you get to be with other people in these behaviors and these things and these lives that you lived so alone for so long. And finally someone goes, hey man, or woman, or person, or friend, just, I've been there before too. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know the stupid, like, the hiding. I know the lies he told. I know the feeling of, like, why do people ask me if I've been drinking when they know I've been drinking? I know the feeling of even the silly stuff of, like, just, like, trying to squint one eye to see straighter, or, trying to, like, eat food without your hands, or, blacking out. Like, sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's not as funny, sometimes it's really dark. But these places, just to be able to share in a communal sense of, like, that shared suffering, even if I'm not offering advice. Like, that's one thing here too. I'm not offering advice, not telling you what to do, not saying this will save you. I wish I had those answers, but just to say, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know what it's like to pay for vodka, pints of vodka with nickels. I know what it's like to be the black sheep in the family. I know what it's like to, hate yourself. I know what it's like to just find out that you've been lying to yourself, or find out that you're the last one to find out that everybody knows you've been drinking, or that to find out that the party's been over for years. I know what those feelings are like. And so it's really important to put you out there. It can be scary because, especially in this world, you try to use technology, you try to use, like, through, social media and stuff, like, it can be dangerous, or not even dangerous, but it could just be disappointing or disheartening, because people are very different on those types of things. But it can also be helpful too. It's so important to not still live in isolation the way you were living when you were under the influence, because you're not meant to live that way. Even if you're an introvert, there are people like that don't need to be around people all the time, but there's still a need for human connection. And so if you're feeling that on Valentine's Day, I feel you. If you're feeling that on any other day, which I have felt before too, I feel you, and my heart goes out to you. Other than that, eat chocolate, do whatever, don't drink or use, or if you are drinking or using, I hope you can find a way to stop. No judgment here. Be safe. I always, the Super Bowl was recently, and some people are like, make sure to not, like, drink and drive on the Super Bowl. It's like, also, you shouldn't drink and drive any other day. But I know what you mean. It just, I'm rambling here. Like I said, if you want to ever reach out to me, my email to contact me is nochaser2022@gmail.com. That is nochaser2022@gmail.com. I'll put it in the description thing underneath here. Like, subscribe, do all the things. If you want to support this so I can keep pushing out new videos, that's fine. If you don't, I totally get it, man. It's whatever. I'm just a guy with his phone on the internet. Other than that, be well. I'll try to make a smooth transition to turn off the camera. See you.